The irony of this podcast is that my clients do call me daddy.
Qu'est-ce que je vais te nommer?
Welcome back to episode 7 of my podcast, Saint to Siren with the Violatrix. I am a 20-year cyber findom. I'm also the author of the Ultimate Financial Domination Guide, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle download, and for some reason they're scalping it on eBay, which I believe is because you can't get it internationally. At the end of episode 6, I promised that I was going to break down different requests for kinks and fetishes from my clients that I have had throughout 20 years. I'm going to mention the popular ones, the not so popular ones, the outrageous ones, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few in there that you not only never heard of, but will make your hair stand on end when I tell you some of these. I believe I still owe you guys the German gentleman story, which will be coming in this episode. I've made a list here of every fetish that has been brought to me over the years. And let's go through them. I have stories for each, but I want to go through the list first, especially for those who are kind of studying under me. CBT, cock and ball torture. This can also involve sounding, which is sticking sharp instruments into the urethral canal, the valve of the penis. So cock and ball torture most typically is going to involve a client who, for whatever reason, doesn't have sensitivity to his testicles, or maybe he does and he enjoys the pain. It really can go either way, but typically these guys have an incredibly high pain tolerance for anything involving their nuts. They want to be stomped on. If you listen to one of the previous episodes of my podcast, I told the story about the guy who was created a little vice for his nuts, and he was squeezing them through he squeezed his nuts through the vice, and then he was dropping medical books and encyclopedias. It was a combination session of forced intox, which is its own fetish, where you're forcing them to get drunk, whether you're forcing them to get drunk to do something painful or just simply for control, or whether you're forcing them to get drunk to drain their bank account, drain their wallet. Forced intox is its own fetish kink, along with poppers. What are poppers? They're a drug that gives you a super high for less than a minute. I believe they're illegal, and the only way to get your hands on them is to go into an adult bookstore, like a glory hole type place, a truck stop type place, adult peep show type bookstore, and ask them for cleaning supplies. I swear to God, that's how it goes. And you ask them for the cleaning supplies case, and they bring you over to the poppers case. There you go. There's my big insider knowledge on how to get poppers. Hope I don't get arrested for this. Okay, so CBT, cock and ball torture, pretty straightforward. I think I told the story about the guy in Canada who offered myself and like 4 or 5 other women tens of thousands of dollars to fly up to Canada and stomp his balls with giant stripper stilettos. And I couldn't find one single girl who was willing to do it with me, so I lost the gig. I don't even know that I could do that, but some of those sessions include a woman wearing stilettos. If you're doing an on-camera session, not only does it include making them tie up their nuts in a shoelace, or smacking their balls with a spatula or with some sort of torture device, but it can also include things such as putting a grape on the floor, putting various fruits, and then just having your stiletto, the camera is on your shoe, and you're just squashing various types of fruit for them, and they just go nuts for this. CEI, I do not like this one. This is called, I do like CBT, by the way, cock and ball torture, love those sessions. CEI, cum eating instructions. This is where a guy likes to eat his own cum, or doesn't like to eat it and wants to be forced to eat it for you as a form of punishment, or even, for me, I believe that it's a form of reward. They enjoy doing it, but they want it in the form of a session where they're being forced to do so. So much of this, so much of these kinks and fetishes that I deal with, they want to be forced to do it. But the fact of the matter is they love to do it, but they want a wicked, evil woman who looks like Morticia Adams or looks like Elvira, aka me, forcing them to do these things. Tease and denial is a pop. Oh, before I move away from CEI with cum eating instructions, they not only want to be told to eat their cum, but then they want to be told how to stroke, and then they want to be stopped. They want you to pause them, edge them, get them right to the edge of it, and bring them to the brink of orgasm and then pull them back. And that would be like a long session, a long edging session, CEI, and it can also incorporate tease and denial. All of these kind of drip, they kind of fall into one another in kind of a waterfall effect. There's also gooning, which is in this subcategory. Gooning is where they want to edge, they want to stroke, they want to drool, make monkey sounds for hours. A gooning client will call you in the morning or in the evening, and then you'll have the session. You don't let them come, or you let them come, and then they call you back and they do it again and again and again. It's just basically they want to be kind of hypnotized and told the same things over and over again. You say hypno, and it's against TOS, terms of service, on most sites these days. When you say hypno, quasi hypnosis, they know you're not a real hypnotist, but what they want is for you saying the same phrase over and over in a low, deep, and sultry voice, telling them exactly what they're going to do for you, exactly when they're going to do it, and how they're going to do it. And then whatever their triggers and their trigger words or their trigger phrases are, you use those over and over again as you're, quote, hypnotizing them. Tease and denial can be anything from, say, they have a fetish. Many have fetishes in inanimate objects such as panties, pantyhose, rubber, leather, fur, stilettos, costumes. It could be any inanimate object. Perfume. So I had a client one time want to buy me various perfumes, send them to me, and have me wear them for a camera session, which to me is so odd, but he wanted to see me spraying them on. So the idea is employing whatever their kink and fetish is, and now you're showing it on camera, you're using it seductively, you're describing it. How does it feel? What's the tactile sense of it? What does it smell like? What does it look like? How would it feel against their skin? Silky pantyhose, lacy panties, silky panties, my red lips, my red lipstick, whatever it is. You're teasing them, you're putting it in their face, and then you're pulling back and you're denying them. Look at my long legs in these stilettos and these pantyhose. How would that feel up against your face? Oh, it's a shame you can't feel this. How hard you would be rubbing up against this, wouldn't you? If I wrap this fur around your face, around your neck, that sort of thing. Let's move into foot worship. Foot worship is pretty self-explanatory. We all have known friends, men who love women's feet. This can encompass anything from loving a woman's foot with a high arch to loving really ragged, beaten up ballerina feet, to liking long, lean, almost the type of Egyptian feet you see in mummies, to liking short feet with organized toes. It really depends. But the one thing, actually two things that I've pretty much seen across the board, the high arch is a big draw, and the other one is soft soles. So in an example where you'd be doing a foot fetish, you would, put on all sorts of anklet socks, stockings, stilettos, maybe lacy stilettos that wrap up your leg, up your calf, and then you're going to slowly remove the stiletto, the anklet, the pantyhose, the stiletto, very slowly expose your high arch, your beat up dancer's feet, or your soft soles. And then they just lose it. But everything in super slow motion, very low, sultry voice as I'm showing you. My long, bony feet, my beautifully organized toes, my pretty pedicure, my soft soles, that sort of thing. Drain game. Drain will be very popular with findom. That is where, in the old days, you would meet a guy at an ATM machine off of Craigslist or any fetish site. Nowadays, you can't do that. So it's got to be a virtual drain game where you're draining them for various little tasks and games. You're just draining them $5, $10 at a time, or if they're high rollers, $25, $50, $100 at a time. Something that we used to do many years ago, which is totally illegal now, I think, across the board. There was a computer program that was called TeamViewer. You'd have the client log into the site and give you a code, and you would remotely take control of their desktop computer or their laptop, and then you could kind of scroll your way around until you got into their bank account and begin draining them bit by bit, transferring funds to your bank account. That was TeamViewer. That's a drain game. And there's lots of little ways to do that game. You'll see them on Twitter. I don't involve myself in any of that bullshit, scamming findoms and scamming men who are looking to get their nails paid for in their coffee. You want to pay something? Pay my fucking mortgage. $4K a month, motherfucker. Sometimes they just want you to go onto various sites and they want to buy you gifts. I don't need gifts. Don't send me thrown gifts. Don't send me gift cards. I want hard, cold cash. Don't fuck around with gifts. I don't need it. I have a client who's driving me crazy, a morbidly obese former attorney who lives in Chicago. You know who you are. He's driving me absolutely crazy. Force feeding, they want to be force fed in front of you on cam, greasy pizza, cupcakes, stromboli, linguine. I really don't engage in this fetish. This is going to come as a big shock to many of you. I have a moral and ethical problem, issue with certain kinks and fetishes, and I draw the line. Anything that I believe is going to make me burn in hell, I'm not doing it. So if I have a guy come to me for a force feeding, the first thing I will ask him is, what is your height and weight? And I'll keep him on the line at $3.99 a minute while I plug his dimensions, his height and weight, into a BMI calculator. And if he's like one cheeseburger away from a heart attack, I ain't taking that client. I'm not doing it. And I tell him exactly that. So I have one right now that I was working with him to a degree, but he wanted me to up the ante and go harder, and I wouldn't do it. And he ghosted, and he came back yesterday. Would you please take me back? I was like, no, fuck you. Extortion blackmail. You guys have heard me talk about extortion blackmail before. This is absolutely one of my top favorites. Extortion blackmail can look like anything from, you're doing a session with them and you're screen recording it, and then you're putting dribs and drabs clips of it out on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and then he's paying you to take it down. Or he sends you scantily clad photos, or photos of him in a corset, photos of him with a dildo in his mouth or another orifice, and then you blackmail and extort him, with the photos. I had a guy one time who didn't believe that I could extort him, and he didn't understand it. So I said, all right, let me ask you a few questions. He said, I'm not giving you much information. I said, I don't need much information. I asked him a few questions. What line of work was he in? What town did he live in? His real first name. I asked him probably 5 distinct things, and I was able to find him in a nanosecond. I found his wife on Facebook. So within a short amount of time, I had everything from his wedding photos to pictures of he and his wife purchasing their house, and then a few more searches, and I was able to get the address of the house. I saw something in the photo that had like a street name, and within 15 minutes of him challenging me that I couldn't extort him, I had all of these photos, pictures. I found his LinkedIn, and I sent him several screenshots of what I'd found. He did pay me, and then he succinctly blocked me. So caveat emptor, as I always say, buyer beware. I'm very good at what I do. Don't be surprised if I smash through the glass ceiling of whatever it is you think I might be able to do, because I will. Ignore line. This is a little known one. It's not very popular. This is where a gentleman will call you and you will just ignore him. Now, this is tough because unless you're watching TV or talking to other people, he's not going to hear anything. If you're just kind of sitting there at your computer, or you're trying to scroll, go out shopping so he can hear the sounds of the mall, or you're in the bathtub, he can hear the splashing type of thing. So, but that's an ignore line. And I have one client, very wealthy guy. He races cars in Monaco. Will call me for half hour ignore line calls, and he doesn't make a sound. You'll hear some grunting towards the end, but your entire purpose of that call is to completely ignore this man, to show him he is nothing. Humiliation is going to be where he was probably bullied or teased by girls in prepubescence, adolescence, his teenage years. Maybe he was over at a friend's house. He and a bunch of little boys were running around. Maybe the girls were getting ready for a date, for a dance, and there was music and hairspray and lipstick, and the boys were trying to sneak peeks at the girls, and the girls were like, making fun of them, slamming the door in their face. And something in that intoxicating mixture of the women, the perfume, the hairspray, the music, getting their first hard on, seeing these beautiful women get ready, all of this intoxicating cocktail leads them to be forever beholden to the only way they can achieve that level of hard on is to be teased, denied, humiliated. So that's where that comes from. Make me cry. Obviously, it speaks for itself. That's a pretty clear kink fetish. Make me cry. Like when I was a little boy, my mom made me cry. That speaks for itself. Role play, again, pretty self-explanatory. Nanny, governess, breastfeeding, mummy. Get a lot of British guys that want you to play mummy. Yeah, that's what they call their moms, not mommy, mummy. You have men who, if you have women that are lactating postpartum, that's a huge fetish, is watching you, you know, express milk on camera. I'm just explaining them. I'm not saying I support them. Nanny governess is when, you have to give them the full scale. We're running around a castle, you're in your little uniform, I'm yelling at you, you're a bad little boy, I spank you, I put you over my knee, then I have to put you in the bathtub. Those can get a little bit weird. I don't love those. I have one client who, he's an attorney. All my clients are attorneys, by the way. I have one client who absolutely loves the nanny governess thing and mummy and all that, and I just run out of scenarios. I really can't stand that one. Human furniture speaks for itself. Wants to be your footstool, wants to be your human ashtray. Put your cigarettes out in them. They want to be your human toilet. No, don't ask. So I don't deal in those, but I've had requests for them. Pay to view games. That's kind of what the OF model is all based on, where you have a cache of videos and photos, scripts basically. He's getting hard, he's working himself up, he's edging, and then you are sending him videos, charging him for each and every video and picture, upping the ante, getting him more and more excited, escalating the temptation, the desire, the desirability, all of these things as you're working him into a complete state of insanity over you, over whatever part of your body or whatever thing is his trick or trigger, and you're charging him for it along the way. Sissification. I just did a whole video on this. If you haven't seen it, it's up on my YouTube. Sissification is the addiction, interest, art of cross dressing, of basically a man becoming a woman. And there's so many different, there's no two that are the same. There's so many different facets to this. You don't know if he wants to go out and live as a woman, or he just wants to do it sometimes. Is he addicted to the idea of just the tactile nature of wearing silky, pretty women's things and makeup and powder and wigs and lipstick and high heels and stockings, corsets? Or is he jealous of his wife because she gets to wear them? Is he jealous of other women because they get to wear them? Does he just want to do it every now and then? Does he just want to be a little taboo and naughty? Or does he want to live out and proud, like full Caitlyn Jenner type situation? There's no two the same. So you have to ask a lot of questions. Does he want to be dressed up like a doll and forced to submit to a man? Which brings me to my next one, which is forced by. There are men that will call you that want you to walk them very slowly through a scenario where they will have to serve another man. And that's called forced by, forced bisexual. So often sissification can lead into forced by, but it doesn't always. You have to ask a lot of questions on the front end. But forced by is basically where he's like, no, no, please don't. Oh, okay, give me that BBC. BBC, we know what this is, but big BBC, big black cock. The number one fetish of all fetishes in findom and dom period. But they want to be talked about. They want you to talk about big black cock. They want you to talk about taking big black cock. They want to hear about what you would make them do to receive it, or how you would make that happen. I do everything from telling them I'm going to pimp them out on Craigslist or Grinder. I'm going to put them in a hotel suite, which they're going to secure, and I'm going to send a big stream of BBC men to come in, fuck their mouths, rape their mouths. Like I get sinister with this. Take them to one of those underground sex shows in New York City, strap them to a chair, let people from the audience come up and have their way with them, all sorts of things. Confession line. This is where you don't need to show your face, and you don't need to show your face in this line of work ever, but this is where you don't need to show your face and you're just doing like a confession line, like a therapist, but you can't call yourself that. And they call you up to tell you stories that they think will shock you. But if you're anything like me, there's nothing they can say to shock you. But a confession line is just that. They have some deep, dark secret they want to talk about or get it off their chest. And bear in mind, as I talk about sissification, any of these, nanny, governess, these men are mostly married with families. Their wives have no idea they're into this stuff. And I often tell them, I always tell them to keep it that way. Keep their dirty little weird kink to calling women like me on a phone sex line. Don't bring your wife into this. She'll never understand it. She will never participate or get her head around it, and it could very well fracture the relationship irreparably. So I'm a big supporter of this line of work and men who do this anonymously from time to time to work it out of their system without involving a family dynamic. Panties, pantyhose, rubber, stilettos, gimp suits, costumes, all of these things are triggers for these men. And like I said, it can be any object, any inanimate object that gets them off. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I will die on this hill. Whatever thing got a young boy in adolescence, prepubescence, puberty, whatever got him his first wet dream or his very first hard on or series of hard ons, whatever it was, a VHS tape, a glossy magazine in the 60s or 70s, or a teacher accidentally rubbing up against him with stockings and pantyhose at his desk while she takes him outside and spanks him with a ruler. Whatever thing tripped his trigger will hard lock in his psyche, and he will forever be inextricably tied to that thing. With his hard on will be inextricably linked to that thing forever. You don't choose your kink or fetish, it chooses you in early psychology, in your earliest experiences as you're going through puberty. Pegging. If I had a dime, a dollar for every man who asked me to peg him, and I tell them I am a findom, I'm not a fucking dominatrix. I'm not fucking pegging you. I don't own a strap on. You would have to nail me to a cross to get a strap on me or to get me to hold, touch one, or talk about one. Even in fantasy, if in the middle of a call and I'm making good money and I don't want to hang up on him, he brings out the pegging fantasy. I tell him in the middle of the session, I will bring in a fucking hooker, a lady of the night, an escort, and I will outsource your pegging. She will peg you. I will fucking outsource it. Do not ever bring that up to me again or tell me before the call. Like, I get viscerally sick by the idea of pegging. I am a findom. I am not a dom. There's a huge difference. Know it, learn it, live it. ATM, human ATM, that is where they just want to be used and abused for their money. These men, the girls on Twitter and on TikTok make it sound like these men are all over the place. They are so few and far between. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they are a guy who wants to be a human ATM, he's not going to do it often. And when he does it, he's never going to look for the girl with a findom listing. He's going to look for the girl with the girl next door, lonely housewife, home alone, college co-ed. He is never going to look for a findom because most don't know what they're doing. And they would end up ruining him because they don't understand how findom works. And that is the truth. Most men that are true fin subs pay piggies. Men who want to engage in this power exchange for money are doing it because they run corporations, they run their family, their wives are submissive, they have to be dominant all of the time, and they just want to release and relinquish control and sometimes financial control and feel subservient and submissive to a powerful woman that they know they couldn't in their normal vanilla life. They could never touch her, get near her, date her. That is human ATM. That pretty much encompasses everything with which I deal, every kink and fetish in which I am commissioned to do a session or a show. I'm going to leave you by telling you one last story, which you're going to love. So, as we wrap up episode 7 of my Saint to Siren podcast, I just want to remind you that I am always welcoming questions, suggestions, stories you'd like to hear, topics that you'd like covered. There's places on the podcast hosting pages for you to comment. Please feel free to do so. Your feedback is invaluable to me. As I mentioned, I'm probably only going to do 12 episodes of this podcast. I really am not sure if I'm going to continue on with it. If I'm not reaching the right people, not helping the right people, it wouldn't make sense because it's a lot of work. Not that I don't enjoy it, but it just doesn't make sense investing this kind of time into this. Cuckolding, I forgot to mention with all of the fetishes and kinks, I think I left out cuckolding. That's probably the granddaddy of all. BBC and cuckolding is first and foremost what you think of when you think of findom. And as we know, BBC is big black cock. That's what all these submissive men are after. Yeah, the white guys, actually many ethnicities. But what what these men want is to be cuckolded at the mercy of a goddess or mistress. And she's, of course, beautiful and powerful. And he's on his knees, or he's in the corner, or he's in chastity, which is a locking device for his cock that he can't get hard and he can't come. And you can find him on Amazon, by the way. And that he gets to watch, or at least is in the presence or knowledge of the fact that his wife, his goddess, his mistress, whatever it is, or whatever relationship they have, she is serving this black bull and he is submissive to her. Now, to my story. Years ago, I had this is a real person, and he's still out there. He doesn't call me anymore because he can't afford me, and I will tell you why. His name is Diaper Boy or Diaper Bitch. He used to have a website. He was featured on that show Inside Edition. So if you don't believe me, you can Google this. He's a real person. He is a full grown man who was in the military, who now lives as a grown man baby. When I say he lives as a baby, I mean he wears giant diapers. He has a crib that he sleeps in. He sucks his thumb. He takes bottles. He was living with his mother. First, he was married, and his wife was caretaking him. He doesn't work. He's got a military pension, and he may be on disability for mental issues. I'm not totally sure about that. Um, and he was getting endorsements for a while, and he was on some clip sites, so he was able to pay me for a period of time. He's the sweetest thing ever. He's adorable, um, but he's a full-grown man. He now must be in his 50s, and he lives as a baby. He was married, and his wife was taking care of him full time. Then she divorced him and gave him to his mother. So his mother had him full time, and they have to do everything from bathe him to feed him in a high chair, diaper him, put him to sleep, watch what he eats, put baby locks on things. He lives as a baby. He believes he is a baby. He talks in a baby voice. He has a bedroom full of stuffed animals, little baby toys, and he likes to call girls on phone sex sites, chat sites, OF, and play with them as like his virtual babysitter. And then like he's rolling around in a bonnet and his diaper. I was so intrigued by him. I think he didn't enjoy our sessions because I was so psychologically curious about like what it was that drove him. I was curious about he had a few babysitters that took advantage of him, and I don't even know where the ethics and morals cross on that one. One was a guy. So for fun, I used to like deep dive. I used to ask him to deep dive those stories about what the dirty babysitter did to him. Anyway, so his wife divorced him, gave him to his mom because he was too much work. His mom couldn't take it anymore, and she shipped him down to Florida to her sister. So he lives with his aunt, and she's kind of abusive, and she puts him in like some sort of a cage when she goes out instead of like getting a babysitter. So anyway, that is a true story. I have seen and heard it all. I mean, I don't think I got to my German ATM client. There is one more ATM that I didn't speak about, and it doesn't stand for ATM withdraw. It stands for ass to mouth. And somebody remind me. My podcasts are all kind of bleeding together. I can't remember what I told you and what I didn't. Someone tell me if I didn't tell the German ATM story that almost made me stop doing this forever. It traumatized me so badly when I saw what I saw on cam. And when I took the call, when I took the client, he was very careful about what he asked me, but he did not divulge the full story of what he would be performing for me on cam. And when I saw it, I can't unsee it. And he called me a few more times and he never called me again, thank God. But anyway, somebody tell me in the comments if I didn't tell you the German ATM story, because if I did not, I will tell you as I open the next podcast, episode 8. And it's a long one, and some of you may need therapy. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I want you to understand that there are so many moving parts and pieces and facets to what I do. I think I've mentioned early on that I've had clients call me who were sexually abused, and conventional therapy doesn't work for them. So they call women like me because this is what we do day in and day out. Nobody's seen nor heard more than we have. And I have several clients that use me as a real therapist. I kind of cover it all, but this is my specialty. This is what I do. This is what I know. And I am in the process of revamping my website soon because Wix took down all my pay services that were available to me for violation of terms of service because it's adult related content. So if you try to book a session with me, you have to contact me for my Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, because I can no longer take payment processing through my Wix site, which is a whole other story. But yeah, fuck you, Wix. What if they want to sponsor one of my episodes?
Qu'est-ce que je vais te nommer?